Stop embarrassing yourself, my dad whispered at the top of the stairs. My brother snorted. She can't even afford a parking spot. The realtor cleared her throat, eyes skimming her tablet. Sir, your daughter's company actually owns this property. My name is Rowan Ellis. I'm 28. When the people who taught you your value try to price tag your life, what do you owe them, silence or truth? Air hummed through the vents like a held breath. The thermostat blinked 72 in soft blue, like it was judging our temperature, not the room's. Dad's mouth made a thin white line. My brother scraped his sneaker along the marble as if he could scuff the shine out of it. I pressed my thumb to the brass key on my lanyard, our company's closing gift, small crescent of weight against my pulse. Motif or not, it felt like a steadying moon in my pocket. Is this backsplash real marble? Mom, who'd insisted on coming for moral support, asked the realtor, a neat, sideways question that meant, prove this isn't a fantasy. It's Calicut, the realtor said, finding her composure. And yes, the deed lists Astor and Finch Holdings as owner. She glanced at me. Ms. Ellis, congratulations. Cute name, my brother muttered. Astor and Finch, like a boutique that fails in 6 months. I love the natural light, I said to no one in particular. Dialogue decoy or defense, who could tell? Morning skated across the white walls, casting long windowpane shadows that looked like soft ladders. The chair by the picture window looked like it was waiting for me to sit, the way certain rooms remember you even before you arrive. Dad leaned close, the old cologne and old warnings. You've always confused luck with worth. Sir, the realtor tried again, gentle as a librarian, your daughter is the managing partner. A wind chime sang outside, 3 notes, silver and brief. Some neighbor's idea of grace. In its echo, I noticed the house wasn't big or perfect. It was simply honest. And for the first time, their voices didn't shrink me. They just measured themselves. I thought I'd come to view a property. Instead, the house held up a mirror, and inside it I wasn't a guest at all. I was the threshold. Dad's silence followed us down the hall like humidity. Thick, invisible, impossible to escape. Mom busied herself with opening cabinets, probably checking if the shelves were real wood. My brother lingered near the French doors, pretending to text. I kept walking, tracing the sound of my own footsteps against the oak floor. They didn't echo, they absorbed. That's what money earned honestly sounds like. Quiet confidence. Since when do you own properties? My brother asked, finally breaking the air. Since the people who told me I couldn't stopped watching, I said, my tone calm, almost kind. The realtor smiled awkwardly. Should I continue the tour, Ms. Ellis? Dad scoffed. Don't flatter her. He said it like he was trying to rewind time, back to when I was the kid begging him to co-sign my college loan, and he said, we can't invest in 2 children. Back then, my brother got the degree. I got the silence. As she guided us into the living room, the realtor gestured to the wall of windows overlooking the city skyline. Sunsets here are beautiful. It faces west. West. The direction I'd driven when I left home at 21 with a duffel bag and an unpaid internship. Every night I'd watch the sun disappear behind glass towers, promising myself one thing. When I rise, it'll be where they can see me. Mom's voice pulled me back. Rowan, you could have told us. We might have helped you. Helped. The word fell heavy between us, like a misplaced joke. I turned toward the glass, the skyline reflected behind my shoulder. You did, I said softly. You helped me learn who I was when no one believed it. Dad muttered something under his breath. The realtor caught my eye, uncertain if she should keep speaking. Go ahead, he said. Let's see the office. Because that's where the real ghost of our family lived, inside the contracts with my name on them. The office smelled faintly of cedar and new paint, sterile, hopeful, like something freshly unwrapped but not yet claimed. The realtor swung the door open, her heels clicking twice before she stepped aside. This is the study. Custom-built shelves, double-pane windows, soundproofing. Soundproofing. How poetic. My father had spent years perfecting that same feature in himself. Mom ran her hand across the desk. "You could have used this space when you lived with us," she said softly. "All those nights in the basement with your laptop." I smiled. "You said the Wi-Fi didn't reach down there." A dialogue decoy, small and sharp. She didn't reply. My brother leaned against the doorframe. "So what? You're the boss now." His tone was half joking, half fearful. The kind of question asked by someone who already knows the answer, but prays it isn't true. "I just sign things," I said. "People far smarter than me run the numbers." That was partly true. Astor and Finch started with 2 interns and a coffee maker that only worked if you tilted it just right. But I'd built a team, one late invoice at a time. I'd eaten rejection emails like breakfast. The company name wasn't chosen for aesthetics, it was for endurance. Astor, the flower that blooms in fall. Finch, the bird that learns to mimic any sound to survive. Dad picked up a pen from the desk, rolling it between his fingers. It's easy to play grown-up when someone else pays the bills. "The mortgage is under my signature," I said quietly. His jaw stiffened. "You expect me to believe that?" The Realtor hesitated, glancing between us. "Mr. Ellis, if you'd like, I can show you the ownership documents." "Do it," Dad snapped. The click of her folder opening sounded like a courtroom door. Papers whispered across the desk. My father's eyes landed on the name, mine. He didn't speak. He just stared. And in that silence I realized nothing sounds louder than a man realizing his control expired years ago. Dad's hands trembled slightly as he set the document down. His reflection in the glass wall looked smaller, less certain, like a man standing in a version of his life that no longer belonged to him. "This is a misunderstanding," he muttered. "Someone must have used your name as a front." The Realtor looked uncomfortable. "Sir, I verified the corporate registration myself." Mom's lips parted like she wanted to defend him, but words wouldn't come. She just stared at me, then at the polished nameplate on the desk that read Rowan Ellis, managing partner. "I didn't even know you had a company," she whispered. "I didn't either," I said softly, until I stopped waiting for permission. My brother gave a low chuckle. "So what, you're a big shot now, buying up neighborhoods to show off." I turned toward him. "You know what's funny? The only reason I learned real estate law was because you wouldn't let me study architecture. You said I'd fail without your notes." He looked away. "That was a joke." "Not to me." The air hummed again, the same low sound from the vents, now carrying the faint scent of cedar and old pride burning off. I realized how surreal it felt, standing in the middle of everything I'd built while they kept searching for someone else to give credit to. The Realtor's voice broke the stillness. "Ms. Ellis, should I show them the terrace?" Dad barked a laugh. "Terrace? She probably rents it from someone." "Let's go," I said. As we walked, I noticed Mom's eyes tracing the house, every detail cataloged like she was memorizing evidence of my independence. The door opened, and sunlight poured in like applause. The terrace spread wide, glass railing, quiet skyline, air shimmering with the kind of peace you can't fake. Dad stepped out beside me, jaw clenched. "You think this makes you better than us?" "No," I said. "It just makes me free." He didn't answer, but his silence sounded like defeat. We stood on the terrace in uneasy sunlight. The skyline glittered below, indifferent to our history. The Realtor excused herself quietly, saying something about needing a call, leaving the 4 of us framed by glass and wind and unfinished truth. Dad gripped the railing. "You always had a flair for drama," he said. "Couldn't you have invited us here without this performance?" "Performance?" I asked. "You mean the part where your voice cracked when the paperwork didn't match your version of me?" He turned away. "You're still that same girl begging for approval." I exhaled. "No, Dad. I stopped begging. You just never stopped withholding. Mom stepped forward. Rowan, please. We're family. Let's not. But I raised my hand. No, Mom. Let's talk about family. The one that told me to be practical, not passionate. The one that threw my sketches away because dreams don't pay rent. My brother scoffed. You think you're the first person in the world whose parents doubted them? Grow up. His words landed like dull knives, not deep, but familiar. Maybe I am grown up, I said. Maybe this, I gestured toward the city, the house, the wind, is what happens when the thing you buried learns to breathe again. He smirked, but I caught the flicker in his eyes, a mix of envy and confusion, the kind that doesn't fade quickly. Mom pressed her hand to her chest. We only wanted to protect you. From what? I asked. From failure or from proving you wrong? Her silence was the answer. The wind lifted a strand of my hair. Somewhere below, a car horn echoed, sharp and fleeting, like the sound of a past version of me finally driving away. Dad adjusted his cufflinks, his voice tight. You'll see this won't last. I smiled faintly. Then you should enjoy the view while it does. Because the real show was just beginning, and I didn't even know it yet. That night, the city lights dripped into the windows like molten gold. My parents had left hours earlier without saying goodbye. My brother lingered in the driveway, pretending to check his phone before finally driving off. But I stayed by the terrace doors, watching their silhouettes fade into the evening haze. The house was quiet now, so quiet it almost spoke. I ran my hand along the cool glass, feeling that strange hum again, the kind of silence that doesn't feel empty, just earned. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my brother. Dad's furious. He says you embarrassed him in front of strangers. Mom's crying. You happy now? I stared at the words. Then I typed back, no, just free, and pressed send. I turned toward the office. The gold lamp on my desk cast a soft halo over a folder labeled Ellis Property Trust, pending revision. Inside it were documents I hadn't yet signed, papers that would transfer a small stake of the company to a charitable foundation for underprivileged design students. My first real project outside of survival. As I read through the clauses, I thought of all the unpaid internships, the cheap coffee, the nights I'd fallen asleep over blueprints. Every failure that taught me resilience without applause. The doorbell rang. Once. Then again. I froze. When I opened it, Mom stood there alone, no coat, just that same trembling hand clutching her purse. I didn't come to argue, she said quietly. I came to understand. She looked around, hesitant but proud, like she was walking through a museum of someone she used to know. I didn't realize you built all this. It's not about the house, I said. It's about finally owning the silence. She nodded, eyes glistening. Your father doesn't understand peace that isn't loud. Then she reached into her purse and handed me a small silver keychain, shaped like a finch. From your old room, she whispered. You left it behind. The metal was cold against my palm, and suddenly the house didn't feel empty at all. Mom sat on the edge of the couch like she was afraid to leave a mark. The same woman who once told me, you can't live off dreams, Rowan, now looked around at walls built by nothing but them. Your father won't come around easily, she said. He thinks success is something you inherit, not something you create. I smiled faintly. He taught me that by example. She winced, but didn't argue. Instead, she stood and walked toward the window. The city lights washed across her face, softening the years between us. When you left home, I told him you'd come back broken, she whispered. I wanted to believe that too, so it wouldn't hurt as much when you didn't call. Her honesty cracked something open in me, quietly, painfully. I almost did break, I admitted, but every time I wanted to quit, I heard his voice saying I'd never make it. So I built something he couldn't ignore. She turned toward me, her voice trembling. And now Now I'm learning not to build against people, but for myself. For a long moment, we just listened to the hum of the city, to the air shifting around us. Then she reached out and touched my shoulder. He may never say it, but he's afraid. You outgrew the version of him that made sense. I let out a breath. Maybe one day he'll see it wasn't rebellion, it was survival. Mom gave a small, sad smile. And maybe one day you'll see he's not angry at your success. He's angry at his own limits. Her words sank in deep. A truth I wasn't ready for, but one that fit. As she left, I watched her walk down the path toward Dad's car. He didn't look at the house this time. Inside, I placed the Finch keychain on my desk beside the company seal. 2 symbols of everything I'd lost and everything I'd reclaimed. The past had finally stopped knocking, but the future was waiting at the door. A week later, I stood in the same office, sunlight draping the walls like soft forgiveness. The Realtor's final paperwork set ready for my signature, officially transferring 10% of Astor and Finch's profit share to the new scholarship foundation. I picked up the pen, then paused. Through the window, I saw a familiar car pull into the driveway. Dad stepped out slowly, alone this time. His suit looked too formal for the hour. Armor for a battle he wasn't sure he could win. He hesitated at the door, then knocked. When I opened it, he didn't look angry, just smaller. I drove by to see the place one more time, he said, before you officially take it over. I already did, I said gently. He nodded, his eyes flicking around the room. You did well, Rowan. Better than I thought you would. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. The air between us wasn't heavy this time, it was honest. He cleared his throat. Your mother told me about the scholarship. I waited. He met my eyes. That's good work. Real work. You make us look good. A quiet laugh escaped me. I stopped trying to make us look good, Dad. I'm just trying to make things right. He nodded again, and for a second I saw it, the flicker of pride he'd hidden behind decades of control. Well, he said softly, you did. When he left, I sat at my desk, the Finch keychain glinting under the sunlight. I signed the paper slowly, letting the ink dry like closure itself. Outside, the wind carried faint chimes from the terrace, the same 3 silver notes as before. Only this time, they didn't sound like warning. They sounded like peace. I wasn't their disappointment anymore. I was my own beginning.